Hey everyone, this is the number 9 Scriddle. I recorded a couple of these. This one might be the first one that actually goes online. The reason is I kept forgetting to explain what Scriddle was before going and doing it, and if you just watch me solve it with no context, it's not as fun. So I thought I'd explain what it is before I walk through this one in the hope I can actually put this one online. So Scriddle is a game designed by Younès. It is about intuiting the rules of a puzzle game. So what we're going to look at is a puzzle, like a Sudoku, for example, but we don't know what the rules are. We don't know what the name of the puzzle is. We don't know what the objective is. What we can do is interact with the puzzle in some ways. So I haven't actually looked at this one yet, but for example, if I click on this square here, it will change color. I can click it to make it gray, and I click it again to get rid of it. So what we can do is we can make some changes to this grid. We can click guess, and then Scriddle will tell us whether we were correct. Maybe we just got correct on the first time. Or it might tell us, for example, well, actually you broke this rule, and it will try and highlight which part of the grid that we broke. So essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to solve a puzzle without knowing how it works. But the extra information that we're getting that's going to help us solve it is we're going to get hints about what is or isn't right about our solutions. So it's an interesting way of approaching puzzle solving. And the other interesting thing about it is you can kind of only do it once. So once I know how this particular type of puzzle works, I can't play Scriddle with this puzzle again, because I know the rules. I'll know how to solve it. I can play the puzzle itself, but I won't be able to play Scriddle's version of the puzzle. Anyway, enough talk. We'll actually sit down and solve this one now. Now, some of these have taken me 40 minutes to do, and some of them have taken me 3 minutes to do. Some of them have taken me like 35 guesses. Some of them have taken me one guess. So I have no idea how well this is going to go. It's 10 o'clock at night. I'm actually a day late for this one, and my back is hurting. So it might be that this video never appears online at all. But let's try and solve it together. Let's have a look. So what have we got? Well, we've got this is a 7 by 7 grid. 7's interesting. It's not a super big number. It's got it's an odd number, so there's a middle line, which might be significant. And it's broken up by these lines, which are subdividing it into, so this has like 5 in, this has 4, this has 5, this has 6, this has, 8, and I'm not going to count how much this big one has. So it's not like, there are some of these sections that are the same size, so it's not like they're unique or anything like that. It's interesting that the shape of these regions is quite interesting. There's lots of branching and dead ends. Like if this was a maze, this would be like a dead end with one square that's just surrounded by walls, kind of. But I've seen some of these before where the objective was to make a loop. That's quite common in these logic puzzles. But other than that, this is quite open. I don't have a lot that I'm going for here. This is very interesting to me, this section here, because often with these puzzles, what you find is that if we did know the rules to this puzzle, we would expect some part of the puzzle to be easier to start with, right? So, if you think about a Sudoku, you start by checking, are there any obvious squares I can fill in without even thinking about them? Oh, look, a 1 can only be in this square here because all the others are filled in. So there's usually some place to start on these puzzles, unless it's a super hard version of it. So we're kind of looking for something unusual. We're looking for something we're looking for a part of this grid that has qualities that the other parts of the grid doesn't have, right? That's kind of how I approach Scriddle often. I say there's been 9 of them, but this is how I think about these Scriddles when I approach them. And definitely one of the things that is sticking out to me a lot are the fact that there are these sort of almost completely isolated squares. Anyway, let's have a think. We want some kind of victory condition, right? So it could be that I would guess that there's probably got to be at least one tile colored in each of these regions. And actually, as I'm doing this, I'm thinking, oh, maybe it's there can't be two squares in the same column or row. That could be an interesting constraint. This one's on its own in a row, this one's on its own, this one's on its own in a column. However, one argument against this is that there is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's only 6 shapes. So typically, if it was going to be 1 in every row and column, you would also expect it to be 1 in every shape. but that's not. So I'm just going to leave it here. We've got one block in each area. Let's click guess and see what happens. I've talked enough. Okay, we've broken 2 rules. So the way Scriddle works is when you break a rule, Scriddle will tell you about it. But if you haven't broken a rule yet, it won't. So it might be that there are 11 rules for this puzzle, but at the moment we're only breaking 2 of them. So Scriddle's only going to tell us about the ones we're breaking. Now there's another quirk with Scriddle. So Scriddle's telling us that this block I clicked on, this breaks the red rule. I believe the way Scriddle works is, actually no, I think that's been changed actually. I think the way it used to work is it would only tell you the first example of it breaking the rule. It would then wouldn't check the others, but I think it actually does check now. So this might be unique in the way it breaks the rule. But there are some conditions on the way in which rules are processed for sure. And this entire thing, the whole thing breaks the orange rule. That's interesting. So that's a very all or nothing rule. Okay, we didn't really get a lot of information from that. So let's try something else. Let's try, this is not very methodical. I've been more methodical in my previous attempts, but I felt like I've had more to go on. So let's try this one. This respects the red rule. That's interesting, but we've broken so many rules. Okay, so this respects the red rule, and the notable thing here is that all the colored squares are connected. And this is a common pattern in lots of puzzle games that are like this. So my guess would be that the red rule is that we need at the very least, all the shaded squares need to be contiguous. They need to be touching each other. Now the orange rule is interesting. It's highlighted, so this shape has no shaded squares in, this shape has 2, this shape has 2, this shape has 2. So what I'm thinking is that every shape has to have 1 shaded square, but no shape can have 2 or more or 0. And as I'm saying this, I'm now thinking this actually makes perfect sense, because if our first objective is that all the squares have to be connected, but also that there can only be like 1 in each square, that already makes this, I can see where the challenge comes from. I also believe it might be unsolvable if that's the case. So I think one of my assumptions is already wrong. And the reason I say that is let's look at this square in the top left, this shape here. So if I was gonna, whichever one of these I fill in, let's say I filled in this one, if I'm assuming that it's got to touch all the other shaded squares, and I also need there to be a shaded square in this shape, then I'd have to shade in one of these 2, right? Either this one or this one. Probably going to have to be this one in order to touch the next square. Again, if we assume this one has to be connected, this would need to be shaded. But now where am I going to go? I can't go anywhere. If I'm assuming that I can only put 1 in this shape, which I think is true, and I can only, although actually hold on a sec. Yeah, and I can only, wait, but then why were we breaking the orange rule in the first one? Interesting. This one didn't break the rule. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This had 6 in. This had 1, 2, 3, 4 in. What is the difference? Is it less than 4 or less than 3? That seems weird. I suppose it could be though. It definitely could be. This is actually reminding me of one of the other Scriddles that we've done in the past, which... Sorry, I'll just punch this out and then I can talk through my logic for it. There was a Scriddle similar to this earlier. Oh, 4 would actually make sense as the magic number for this, now that I'm looking at it. Or 3. Yeah, so we had a Scriddle a little bit like this before, where you had to make a loop, but it had to have certain like relationships with all of these shaded, with all of these like demarcated shapes. Let's do something like this and see what it does or doesn't like. So it likes red, breaks the orange rule. We'll come back to that in a bit. This is a very specific breaking, so I suspect this is that it can't be that the shape isn't fully filled in, right? That seems too specific. Feels like these other rules cover this. So this doesn't like 1, it doesn't like 3. It seems to be that it needs 4 or more. This one breaks the other rule. It feels like the orange rule says that each one of these shapes needs to have 4 colored squares in, at least, or maybe exactly. We actually respect the blue rule here, which is interesting, but this one broke it. This one didn't have any in, that's probably why. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking at the moment. And this actually goes back to something I said earlier. Each one of these thick outline shapes needs to have at least 4 shaded squares in. And if you remember, I talked earlier about like, oh, most of these puzzles have like somewhere you start, somewhere you begin solving the puzzle from. And that would be here, because this shape only has 4 tiles. So if we need at least 4 tiles shaded, then we can just start off by shading all of these in. That does make me curious as to what the yellow rule is, because it didn't like this being fully shaded in. So it could be that this rule is very specific about there not being 5 or more. I don't know how the rules for this have been described. Something like this maybe, and then, so if we wanted 4, no, that won't do it. I guess we can test the 5 theory by having 5 here. This is a little bit weird because I suspect it won't let us do this because this is kind of breaking the... I mean, maybe it will. Maybe it will, actually. I don't know why I said that. Let's find out. Nah, there's no way it's going to let us do that. What even is this loop that I've drawn? Let's do this and see what happens. I think this will break several rules. Okay, red's good, orange is good. Yellow is not good, and yellow, we hypothesized yellow might be 5, and this one has 5 in. So it looks like the number rules are kind of broken up. This is like less than 4. The orange rule is like squares that have less than 4 in. The yellow rule is squares that have more than 4 in, I think, more than 4 shaded tiles. We're great on the blue rule, again, which is no empty shapes, I think. The indigo rule does seem to be about, like, I don't know how to put it, but essentially if you look at this, if we were following these squares, these shaded squares as a path, each shaded square only has 2 shaded neighbors. So if you've come from one square, you already know where you're going to go if you're following the path. If we go to here, this square has 3 neighbors. So I think this is probably not allowed. And what about the green rule? So the thing that's special about this is that in all of the other shapes, the shaded tiles are next to each other in a particular shape. So in this one, this is a very big shape with lots of white space in it, but I've shaded all 4 tiles next to each other, they're all touching. So this complicates the solution a little bit, because what we're claiming here is that this shape has to have all of its squares filled in. Let's clear out the grid so I can talk. Oh, you can click and drag. I'm such an idiot, Younès, I apologize. Okay, so these 4 have to be shaded in because of... did I start recording, or have I been talking to myself for a while? No, I did start recording. Okay, so these 4 squares have to be shaded in because we know that every sort of shape, every thick-lined shape here has to have no fewer than 4 and no greater than 4 shaded tiles. Now this one only has 5, and we know we can't put a tile here, according to the rules as I've got them, right? Which would mean that we would need these 4 to be shaded. But at this point I don't see how the puzzle has a solution, because putting a shaded tile here or here violates the other guess I had at what the rules are. So I felt I was getting so close, and now I'm feeling much more confused suddenly. Okay, what else did we like about this solution? This felt pretty good. This wasn't good. These needed to be contiguous, we think. So this would be something like, if they had to be contiguous, it would be something closer to this. But again, like, this is weird. I must be way off base with... I must be way off base. Because again, there's no way to shade in 4 of these squares to make them adjacent to each other. And this feels like it breaks the other rule, the indigo rule. Unless the indigo rule is not as strict as I thought. In fact, actually looking at it, this square here does not have 3 neighbors. It actually only has 2, but it's still shaded. So possibly I've sort of this could be about cycles. Is it about cycles? I mean, not that makes it any better, because it still doesn't solve our problem, but I guess all we can do is try it and see. 4. That's still not working though. Okay, let's get another guess in so that we get a bit more insight into some of these rules. Okay. Good on red, good on yellow. I've already forgotten what some of these rules are. Why did we break yellow? Oh, I put a 5th one in. You can't do that, Mike. That's not on. Alright, let's not get carried away. What were the other ones? So this one we know why we broke. This one, did we know what green was? We've never... oh no, we did respect green initially, but then we've never respected it since. So what was green's problem here? Green is the one that we think is contiguous. Yeah, so that makes sense. We knew we'd broken that rule. Indigo's still bad, and still bad for the reasons we thought it would be. But this is really weird. Unless red isn't what we think it is, and now we've we've broken a new rule, which appears to be I have reused a shape. That's interesting. This is tetronymozy. So you can see here that this is kind of like an L shape in Tetris, and this is the same L shape, and this is not the same L shape actually. Why is it highlighted that then? Interesting. That's an odd one. Alright, so what do we want to change? These absolutely have to be contiguous. There's just no option there. We could do that. I feel like I'm getting like frustratingly close. I think this will break red, I think. Let's see if this breaks red. Okay, it doesn't break red, so it doesn't have to be a loop, they just have to be connected. Okay, we've basically figured it out. So I thought that they had to be connected in a loop. They don't, they just need to be connected to each other somehow. So we can have these branches. You know, this one is not connected, but there is a way to get from this square to any other shaded square in this solution without stepping on white tiles. So that's basically what the red rule says. So I think the tetronymos thing I mentioned is definitely not true. I will be honest with you, I think we're going to finish this puzzle without knowing what the violet rule is. I really don't know what on earth that could be. We'll see. Maybe there's something obvious I've missed when I get back, when we finish it. But can't do this. This will also break the indigo one. I mean, what is? Oh, well, actually, this won't if I rework this. If I rework this to this, I think this is actually the solution here. Let's find out. There it is. Oh, come on now. Okay, so maybe we will have to solve the violet rule before the end. So I think I may have been correct. I think I'll have to check with Younès later. I have a feeling this is incorrectly labeled because I think these 4 should be in violet as well. I think the rule is that you cannot reuse a shape. So if you're not following me, what I mean is if you imagine the pieces from Tetris, they're called tetronymos. This is a piece from Tetris. It's one of the Z shapes or S shapes. This is also one of the pieces from Tetris, but they're not the same shape. They look similar, but if you rotate them, they never look exactly the same. Similarly, this shape is separate. It's one of the T shapes. This is an L shape, but these two are actually the same L shape, which is why they've been highlighted here. And I suspect that's what's wrong here, and that we need to avoid duplicating the same shapes. So this poses a little bit of a problem. What are the shapes that we have not used? We haven't used straight line, but we can't use it here. However, we could use it here, which would open us up to do this. But then this breaks the indigo rule, and it would overlap with one of these. So I think the question is, if this has to be an L shape, I think there's no question about that. This also has to be an L shape, and it has to be this specific L shape, I think. So basically it's this that needs to change, which is unfortunate because is that even possible? I don't think it is. Unless it's like, yeah, it's like this, isn't it? And then what am I missing here? One of these L shapes must be different, but I can't see how. It feels like it's like I want to do something like this, but this obviously breaks one of the rules. Could do this, that breaks one of the rules. That's leading me to think that this was correct in the first place. Oh, well, like I haven't used box, but box. You can't use box, obviously, because that would break the indigo rule. The indigo rule. Am I being a complete idiot here? Are you all screaming at the video? What am I? What am I missing? This is the only shape it can be, because this has to be kept blank. Could this be a different shape? I mean, it could be another L shape. The only other shape it could be without breaking something is the 4x1, but it can't be that because this can't change shape and it would always violate it. So I think this has to be here. So that means we've used both L shapes. So the only two shapes left are the Z shape, the other Z shape, and what? I feel like this is so obvious, and my brain is just my brain is just not. It just isn't. What are you missing, Mike? Can't do line. Am I gonna have to Google a list of Tetronimo pieces? Is that what we're doing? Is that where my brain is at this time of night? So weird. I feel like, because this breaks the wait, but this didn't break the violet rule, right? Or did it? Oh, but it breaks the indigo rule. Yeah. Yeah, that's no good, is it? That is simply no good. And this one's the same as that, so I can't do that. Could do this. Then you need to change this, which, nope, can't do that. Okay, so I just went and used friend's privilege to ask Younès. Well, the question I actually asked them was, "Is this broken?" But after explaining my understanding of the rules, they informed me that one of my rules is in fact stricter than it needs to be. So at some point, I have gotten the wrong idea about one of these rules. And I think it has to be either the violet rule or the indigo rule. And I'm just noticing here that this does reuse a tetronymo shape. And it still passes the violet rule. So what I am now wondering is, I'm noticing that whenever it breaks the violet rule, they are touching. Which is why this is not a bug. Where is it? Where's guess 6? Was it here? No? 7? If you remember earlier on, I was like, oh, this is a bug, because this L shape is not highlighted. But it's not a bug. It's because it's not touching, I think. Which is a very strange variation of the rule. But this does change things quite a bit. So now we're looking at this. We actually can reuse L shapes as long as they don't touch, which means I think the solution is simply this, which I had considered as a solution before, but just discarded because, yeah. All right. Well, friends, there you go. So now that we finished it, what I'll do is I'll talk you through the end of this, and we'll go back and look at things. So this is what you get at the end. 13 guesses. It took me 49 minutes and 37 seconds. Obviously, I had a minor existential crisis in that, but I was also talking through it, which extends it. Normally, Scriddles do not take 50 minutes. Like I said, they varied for me between like 30 minutes to like 3 or 4 minutes if you're having a really good day. And it depends on the size of the puzzle. Some of the puzzles are actually very compact. This one is a little bit more open-ended. I really enjoyed it. But then at the end, Younès tells you, like, this is actually based on a puzzle designed by this person. It's called this. It's in the Litz genre. It was actually really cool. I enjoyed this very much. So I'm going to copy this so I can share it in a little bit. And we'll screenshot it as well once I finish recording this video. Okay. So if I close this, what we can now do is we can actually go back and ask it what the violet rule is, I believe. Yeah, or if it's broken, we can ask it. So the shaded cells are divided. This was correct. We knew they needed to be contiguous. We knew that this rule was 3 or less shaded cells, so absolutely correct there. This was 5 or more. Yep, so again, correct. Shaded cells are divided in a room. If you remember, we eventually figured out, like, oh, this isn't allowed because these two are in what they call a room, but they're not touching. This one was empty. Yeah, we absolutely got that one correct. We knew that every room, as they call it, needed shaded cells in it. This was a 2x2 block. Okay, so I got, like, I was running around in circles for a bit trying to figure out whether it was like cycles or loops or something else. The reason why that's hard is because there's a lot of different ways to detect a loop or a cycle using algorithms, and sometimes I'm looking at these and I'm thinking, like, oh, is this like, does it allow it for this reason, or has it detected it in this way? But it was just a 2x2 block, which makes sense. And finally, tetronymers that have the same shape can't be adjacent, and this is brutal, because if you think about it, if the map was a little bit larger, or there was one extra room, this rule would have been a lot easier to deduce. But because there were exactly 6 rooms, it felt like, oh, that would be really nice symmetry for this rule set if every tetronymo was used once. But actually it didn't matter as long as they weren't adjacent. And I had the evidence for it, and I didn't trust Younès. And this is the lesson. Trust Younès' programming, trust Younès' design. If this shape here had broken the violet rule, it would have been highlighted in violet, and it was not. And I did not have faith. So there you go. That's Scriddle. If you would like to sign up to Scriddle, I actually don't know exactly how you do that. But you can go to Scriddle. Let's go to. Should we go to Scriddle.net together? Let's do that. Okay, it's actually it's just there. So that's how you play Scriddle. You go to Scriddle.net. It's real good, and Younès is an extremely smart designer, and I've really enjoyed playing it. And look, this is Scriddle 1. You could be playing this right now. Close YouTube. Go play Scriddle. Thanks for watching. I'll upload my solution to the next one as well. Cheers.